recording this session, and we are going to be happy to share it with folks. If at the end you have questions you'd like to ask afterwards, not on recording, please let us know. That'll be fine. We'd love to talk with you. So we're going to get ourselves going here. We're really glad that you're joining us. Again, my name is Nadine. I use she, her pronouns, calling in from outside of Washington, D.C., traditional Piscataway and Nacotchunk territories. And I am the ETC, the Executive Training Conductor, or ETC, et cetera, for short, because actually I do a lot more than work with trainings here at Beautiful Trouble, like all of us do. We have a small staff that are incredibly talented and work on many different projects all over the globe, all related to making the world a more creative, healthy, peaceful, equitable place. So today we'll be exploring the fabulous, beautiful action trainers modules, or BATMo for short. We came up with this acronym so we didn't have to say that mouthful all the time. So when we talk about BATMo, we're talking about these creative action modules. And before we jump in there, I just want to tell you a little bit about Beautiful Trouble in case you don't know about Beautiful Trouble. Here's our homepage. And when you arrive at the homepage, you'll see we're all about creative tools for a more just world. And in fact, we have a lot of tools and resources available for you. We're going to really quickly go through a few of them. We have a toolbox in right now 8 languages online and counting. We offer trainings and workshops, including this BATMo manual that we're going to talk about right now. We have a tool that we're trying out called the Movement Compass, helping you understand where in the movement cycle you are so that you can be more effective and use the proper tools to support the work that you're doing in the moment. We also have a book coming out, Beautiful Solutions, with our partner groups, and talking about what happens after you make Beautiful Trouble and win, and many other resources online through our social media. Of course, you can donate to us at any point. Just click the donate now button, and we'd be happy to have you join our crew of folks from all over the world. Just a shout out, there are some of our crew online right now, and they'll be helping to manage the tech. That's Chelsea and Dragonfly. If you need support, you can reach out to them. We also have one of the facilitators and trainers who helped develop the BATMo curriculum with us. That's Roberto Ramirez from El Salvador, and he'll be offering a few words after we surf through the training work. So just point out one thing. When you click on the toolbox tab, you end up here. And I wanted to highlight the fact that you can see the different languages at the top: Arabic, English, Spanish, French, Italian, etc. at the top. And that's one of the ways we show our commitment to accessibility. The other thing, perhaps, is our biggest superpower, is that we start with stories, as you can see in the toolbox. But we don't stop there, because although stories are incredibly powerful and motivating, inspirational, we find that stories are not enough. Stories alone will not change the world, but teasing out the lessons, pulling out the lessons from the stories, the theories, the principles, the tactics that worked in these stories so that you can more easily apply them to your own context, that becomes critical to accessing the things that make us effective. So we're really happy to do this overview session. We did one the first one was an overview of the toolbox and all of the things that we offer, including, and I won't forget to mention it, the fact that all of this information, or a great part of it, is available in a card deck that you can hold in your hands and play. And each of the cards has a QR code on it that takes you back into the toolbox for more information. Unfortunately, we do have to sell these, but all the pro tips on how to use these tools are for free online. You can click through on any one of these little card images and learn how to play these games that we find are very helpful for becoming more effective activists and having more fun while you're doing it. So without any further ado, we're going to jump into tools for trainers. That's our landing page to get into BATMo, the beautiful action trainer modules. And this is also, in the end, a card-based framework so that you can actually hold what we call cheat sheets or the cards in your hands. And in fact, these are available for free online. You have to download them and print them yourself. They're available right now for download in 3 languages plus English. And that would be Arabic, Spanish, and Bangla. We have translated it all into Burmese. So if you're looking for a Burmese translation, please contact us directly. It's not on the website quite yet, but we can actually send it to you. It will be on the website, we hope, very soon. So the idea for BATMo was that we heard from trainers and facilitators all over the world a couple of critical things. One is that they were stuck in using their regular tools, but they wanted something that was updated, more feminist, more appropriate for the moment that we're in, more intersectional, and that they were overwhelmed by the amount of things out there. So, and that they wanted something to be very easily accessible and usable for that last minute training, for the support that you might need in front of the room at any point. So BATMo pulls together what we call a curated list. It's selective, it's not comprehensive, of what we think are some great resources, including things that are in our Beautiful Trouble toolkit, but other things from all over the globe. And we worked on this with a collection of trainers from all over the world, particularly affiliated with the Action Aid global platforms. And I think there's about 40 of them where Action Aid operates in about 40 countries. So we had great input from all over the world and a really stellar team of people. And so we think of BATMo as for anybody who is from entry level to an advanced level who wants some quick resources for the work that you're doing. You also could use it as an organizer very effectively because the first 7 modules are all about nonviolent action or people-powered movements, starting with an introduction to the first module, which is an introduction about learning from our history. How do we share nonviolent action stories in a way that supports people using this work effectively? I'll click through just to show you. Each one, for example, here is module 1. Each one is in a Google format. Very brief snapshot, which will describe exactly what the whole module will give you. In this case, reviewing nonviolent action history with a group to help them put themselves and their choices into a broader history of social movements and prepare themselves for people-powered action. And then every one of these landing pages has an introductory section, pretty short. So short, I just scrolled by it in this case. Some of them are longer, some of them are shorter. And then there's a place for key concepts that we think are critical. Some of them are very clear definitions. Some of them are more helping you understand what the way is that we are using the term. And I'll put out there, we're not dictating how people should use the terms, but rather encouraging people to understand how we use it in our work so that you know whether or not it's the same way you use it in your work. Context is very critical. And then a little section on further information in each one of these modules. And again, it's not inclusive. It's very selected so that we don't overload you with more information. At the end of each landing page, and right now there are 11, there's a 12th one that is in development, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There are exercises that are linked through. And in this case, you can see for this first module, there's a timeline activity, there's a documentary and discussion activity, there's the Museum of People Power, there's disobedient images, and there's an ideal community activity. So let's just click through to see what that one is. Disobedient images. It is also Google-based, very easy to use and access. We'll give you a short picture, a snapshot of what this exercise is, approximately how long we think you need, what kind of energy level, and the materials that you might need to do it. And then very brief steps on how to do it. The really interesting thing about this one is that you will find this list of steps in a very short form on the actual card that you were using, so that you can hold this card in your hand and facilitate directly from the card if you wanted to. So in theory, you could go through all of the cards, pick out 5 cards, and have your whole agenda with a cheat sheet in your hands, in fact. I'm just going to go through right now an overview of all of the modules so you have a sense of what we are offering. So like we said, the first one is basically a grounding in the history. The second one, the third one, the fourth one, and those 3 are actually about strategic planning in particular. And you'll see a little icon on the top here of a pyramid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these are related to strategic planning pyramid. These are a little code word, a code logo, if you will, to help you use the cards. And they're all different colors so that you can easily identify the different sections. The first 3 of the strategic planning sections are about grounding in principles and setting your vision. That's in module 2. Module 3, 4, and 5 are finishing out everything from assessment to making your campaign goals SMART, and then doing action planning. And in fact, on module 6, we start digging into more creative actions. So module 6 is all about getting creative, designing innovative action. It draws heavily on the Beautiful Trouble toolbox. Some of the other modules draw heavily on other resources. And then module 7 is called Handling Conflict Creatively, Exploring Responses Within and Beyond the Group. And actually, we'll dig into that one in just a minute. And modules 8 through 11, these 4 modules are all tools and tips for facilitators. So you'll notice module 8 breaks the mold. It's really a collection of inspiration and resources for awesome facilitation. Module 9 is about openings and closings and group energizers. Module 10 is about decision-making tools and a whole spectrum of them, including sociograms and consensus process. And module 11 is about debrief and evaluation tools, easy, accessible variety of debrief and evaluation tools, because we all know how critical that is. And I will mention we are right now developing a module 12 called Self-Care and Community Resilience, with tools specifically designed for facilitators and organizers, both to support you in the self-care and self-resiliency field, if you will. Practice. We're using the word practice, as well as how to facilitate community care and community resilience practices. We found that even though there's a lot of resources about self-care and community resilience out there, there was nothing designed specifically to help facilitators and trainers access that for their work. So that's where we're going with module 12. And if any one of you are particularly interested in being a proofreader or pilot testing module 12, we really would be interested to hear from you. Please do leave your name and your email in the chat, and we'll get back to you about it. All right, so let's take one more look at module 7 for kicks. This is about managing conflict creatively. This is about looking at the whole spectrum of personal preparation for handling conflict, as well as all the way up to the tools and skills needed potentially for formal negotiation, because everything starts with the ABCs of conflict response, de-escalation and intervention tools and tips, as well as pure dialogue practice. and listening. And you can see here we have quite a variety of exercises, from a mini opposing line role play exercise, hassle lines, which I bet many of you have used, to some work on active listening, to how to conduct an action role play, to looking at what we call an early warning, early response practice and preparation of a guided process that support anticipating issues and preparing to deal with them effectively. This comes from the Unarmed Civilian Peacekeeper curriculum and can be quite useful on many different scales. And of course, there's a documentary discussion. If you want to start your work by looking at other things that have happened in the past, you can use a documentary. And we particularly like A Force More Powerful because there are short segments that can stimulate conversation on what could be done to help prep and handle conflict creatively. So I think what we're looking at now is understanding that we have a lot of resources here in the Beautiful Trouble Trainers modules. Once you figure out what you want to access, let's say you wanted to start with any particular of these modules, you could just click through, but you can also download and print the whole card deck. And that is really accessible to you. You just click download, and it will take you to what looks like a store, but you'll notice they're all for free. And these are all the same deck, although in different languages. So you can click and through and download the card deck in different languages and print them in black and white or print them in color. It's your choice. All right. I think the thing that I am really excited about is to hear from all of you with comments and questions about how to use Beautiful Trouble modules. And right now we even have, like I said, Roberto Ramirez from El Salvador, who was part of the original team developing the BATMo modules here, who can potentially say a few words. I think in this moment, I might stop screen sharing and offer that he should join us. And while we're going to find him in the queue of folks who are here, I'll also add that this is number 2 in a series of workshops that we're doing on Mondays. The next one will be next month in May, and we can drop the links into the chat on how to sign up for the next 2 series, overviewing and looking at other Beautiful Trouble modules and offerings that we have online available for free in multiple languages for you to play with and use with your groups. So we're really excited. These are going to be very brief, and I'm looking forward to questions and comments. I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment, and we'll look and see. I see Roberto is here. Would you like
Hello.
to? Yeah, great. Do you want to talk a little?
Thanks, Nadine.
Yeah, do you want to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about it?
of course. Yeah, thank you very much for this chance. It's really nice to see you again. I just would like to say like a little bit about the way we work to develop this. It was like a lot of activists from all over the world. We were guided by the great and only Nadine, who basically support us and do a great job guiding us. But it was very important thing to say is was very participatory. So a lot of people we were really felt included. I mean, it was like as I said before, a lot of people, including these toolbooks. But I remember when we had the discussion, the main objective out of this is like to be useful, not like a big document that it's difficult to check. So basically, it's something like I don't know. It will be like very. So one of the highlights out of this is that it's very useful, easy, and it's also I mean for it could also take you out of an emergency. Let's say this word. I just would like to give you like 3 examples on the how I have used. I'm also part of the Global Platform El Salvador coordinator team, but I'm also a trainer. And I would like to say you like that it's really nice. It's not because I was part of this, but it was really useful. The last a week ago, it was 2 weeks ago before Easter, and we were working with an old ladies agroecology network that have just started. It was curious because we didn't know they are setting their vision, principles, and this kind of this. There's kind of a lot of information all over, but we were thinking, oh, what can we use about this? What would be the best? What would be like? And I have forgotten that we have it in the BATMo deck. So it's like, oh, but I remember that. I remember. So we check it. It was basically the day before. It was very clear. It was very simple, but very useful. So I think I would like to say, like, I will underline it as something very, as to take you out of a problem, as I said before. Like, we're kind of stuck about how to proceed, and it's very simple the way that you can structure something very big about, because for us in a small term it's kind of big, with people that are had just started, ladies who are working in agroecology thing, training, and they want to create a network. So it's basically think about what are the principles, what is our vision, how are we going, and we find a lot of tools in the BATMO that you can that are available for everyone, like the smart thing, the smart tools to create objectives, and many other things. That's what an example. The last week, or no, it was last month, I was in Nepal, which I met a great friend of Nadine. Michael Beer was so happy that you made him, and he is friend of you, Nadine. It was really good because we have just started a Latin American network where we are going to basically talk about the problems, um, and develop. Every country is working or has facing different issues, but all of us got together. It was really important. Another big highlight for me is like the we can have these tools in Spanish, so it's really easy to share with them, but also with all people who are not Spanish speaker, but they're also English speakers. A lot of activists were there, and they found very useful. They didn't know that the tool existed. It was something that many people is using now. And the next one, we're gonna have a training related to. It's going to be a school. We call it a school because it's going to be every. It's basically non-violent and strategical, something like that. It's going to be every Saturday, so it's something we are going to use as basis, the BATMO, about to practical tools. So basically, that's my experience using the BATMO. What I want to say, I want to make it clear that it works and it's simple and it's useful, which is most relevant for me. Right, I can use it, take it away, and it works. So thanks for listening to me. Thanks, Nadine, as well. Thanks, beautiful trouble.
It's so great. It's so wonderful that you could be here today. And I see there are other friends and folks on this session with us, which I'm really glad about. I actually want to say a big shout out for Rem for showing up. And I want to shout out the Beautiful Trouble team that's on here, Dragonfly, our communicatrix, and Daria and Chelsea, and the rest of the Beautiful Trouble team who supports this. And I'll just actually let you know the crew of the original BATMO, the original 11 modules was Anjana Lutel, Isis Silwadi, from Palestine, Monica Kamandao, Mwanja Sinkala, Rem, Shanil Araful Haq from Bangladesh, Shenka Busao, Soren Warburg, Vincent Chiwala. So perhaps you know some of those folks, and others from the Beautiful Trouble Network too that were involved were Dave Mitchell and Phil Wilmot and Ray Abalea as well. So we're really grateful to all of those folks who chimed in, and all of the pilot testers from the first round. And again, if you're interested in pilot testing a new module called Self-Care and Community Resilience, leave us your email and we'll get it out to you. We're doing that as we speak. We have the next 2 weeks we're pilot testing before we translate into multiple languages. Yeah, so I'd love to open it up for questions and comments. Anyone else here who's, particularly if you used Beautiful Trouble, love to hear your stories about whether it worked or whether it didn't, so that we can change it and make it better. We have anybody who wants to raise their hand and ask a question, or feel free to type in the chat if you're not able to speak out. Anyone want to add? Or if anybody from the Beautiful Trouble team knows I missed something, feel free to jump in there. How about a show of hands? Has anybody actually used the tools besides myself and Rem? Use the card deck? You can give me a thumbs up if you have, or a thumbs down if you haven't. Oh, look, there's thumbs up. Woohoo! That's so great. So does anybody, Joanne, Sarah, Daria, Jonathan, anybody want to, Sarah, want to speak to that? Whether it was easy, whether it was hard, which ones you used?
We use them. I'm at Florida State University in the Florida. Anyway, we've been using them with, we have a public pedagogy course that we've been using them with. It's an undergrad class on kind of how art is a kind of operates as a form of public pedagogy. And the students in that class have used them to come up with their proposals for public projects. And then we run a summer, we do it like two 1 week programs with kids in the summer on the civil rights movement in Tallahassee. And we've used the cards to help them think about the possibilities for activism outside of just what they're learning about the civil rights movement. And that's with middle and high school students. So, yeah.
This is really exciting. I would, if you felt comfortable at some point sharing the curriculum with us, we'd love it. People may know that we also have a study guide downloadable for free online. I just want to say something really clearly too. We actually have, I don't know if it's clear, the Beautiful Action Trainers modules, the BATMo card deck is a completely different card deck than the regular card deck that you have to buy, which is incredibly useful. I'm hoping you're using that with your students. They would totally love it. And then there's this other card deck, which is free and downloadable, and you have to print it yourself. That's the Beautiful Action Trainers modules. So just to be really clear that we have 2 card decks. We're big into games and playing things and interactive work.
We're using the one that we purchased, and I came to this to find out about this other.
Yeah,
project.
that's so great. And love to be in touch and hear how you're working it. We are currently, we are currently engaged in a full semester-long course at the new school. Dragonfly and I and others are facilitating and supporting a class at the new school on making beautiful trouble. So Joanne, I see you've got your hand up and you're showing us your face. Would you love to say something?
Yeah, thanks, Jean. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanne, calling in from Toronto. I work at Georgian College up in Barrie in Canada, Ontario. So we have something called Change the Now, which is an online platform that kind of started up just before the pandemic, and then we had to go into virtual mode. So the Beautiful Trouble card deck was used in the last semester with our students to create a creative action, basically. And our whole element was to use, our goal is to use the UN SDGs as a guideline for looking at community issues or regional issues that are taking place, and how students can work together with community partners to come up with ideas to create outcomes or solve some of those elements. So we did the card decks. We actually have the physical card decks, and I think the story element was really useful for the students. So they really appreciated going into those QR codes and like seeing what change making or what action in terms of community space looks like. So that was great. I think one of the elements that we just found, or maybe our students found a little bit tricky, was, so with the creative action game, we had to pick a theory card, a principle card, and a tactic card. And I think just getting them to understand how to link up those cards together in terms of a concept or a thought was something that we really had to like pull through. So we were trying to think of like other things that we could put together to kind of fill up those spaces, because these are students where English is also not a first language, but they are learning and working in a English-based medium. So just kind of making that more accessible to them is what we're trying to figure out too.
Oh, I love this. I would love, anybody here want to chime in with if you've solved this problem yourself? I mean, I have some ideas, of course, because we do this a lot, but anybody else want to chime in? I know there's folks here who use this as well. All right, I'll talk for another minute, but it's not all about me. As Rem said, there's so many people involved. It's really wonderful. So one option is only to use one card. That is totally a legitimate way to go. The other thing that I often do is I make them pick 3 cards no matter what. And I say they don't have to use all 3 cards. They need to read about them and understand, but perhaps for the catalytic nature of the game, they use only 1 or 2. And then here's another option that I do a lot is I let people switch a card out. So they pick 3 cards, they get one they don't understand or they don't like, or I don't know what, and they can go back and change it out for a different card. And all of those things might help just generally. The other thing that I would say is that they're just prompts for creativity. And I will say some of the theories are pretty abstract, are difficult. Like sometimes people can't even, like, what do you mean capitalism or colonization? Like these are hard to involve. So sometimes we have a little brainstorm as a group around the cards before they go into their groups, even to help them. So those are just a few different ways that we use the ideas in the games. I will say it opens up this whole struggle that we always have of saying less, not more. Just recently, Juman, who's one of our editors, who's not here, and I'm editing the self-care module. She's like, stop adding things. You know, the idea is we need to less is more in a lot of ways. It's much easier to access. And we hope that you take liberal privilege changing the suggestions that we make for playing the games. And then when you hit something that works really well, please do let us know about it and we can add it so that other people can learn from our experience.
That's great. Thank you. I like the fact of maybe creating that discussion piece around some of those bigger concepts in terms of context.
Yeah, it's great. And do you have any particular languages that that the kids come from, the backgrounds that they come from?
Yeah, they come from a lot of them come from South India, where Malayalam is spoken, and then we have students coming in like from Nepal and Pakistan, so Urdu, and yeah, some of those Southeast Asian languages.
Yeah, this is on our list, a big challenge and lots of people. Right. Yeah. So we have Burmese and Bangla so far and that's it. Small communities, but we're working on it. Yeah, great. Who else has any kind of comment, any kind of question? Love to answer. Take them, have a conversation. I know Sarah and Jonathan are here and they've used these tools in lots of ways and have produced even amazing videos on these tools. And maybe you want to share them in the chat if you think they're appropriate. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, we can. Yes. So we're also feeding a 15-month-old, as what I always say, 15-month-old right now. So Jonathan has this meeting on in one of his ears and he's out at the table. So, oh, look, there they are. Okay, everybody showed up. Well, I just think that these little dip in to hear what people are saying are really genius. It's really helpful because in the bigger deck, every once in a while I get a little lost, but I'm going to use my printing budget from school because we have an allotment per semester to print out this BATMo. And I am very much looking forward to using it Friday, where we'll be bringing together a number of people involved in many different initiatives across the city of Syracuse, New York, which is Onondaga Nation land. And so I'm just even thinking about the warm-up exercises that I'm going to have them do. And I'm looking forward to having that little cheat sheet, because I can remember many, but right in the moment when I also need to do logistics for an event, it's really nice to be like, oh, okay, yeah, spectrogram. We can do some fun ones of those and then get into ones that relate specifically to the movement. So I'm looking forward to that and to seeing how they print out as well. So if I have feedback on that at that time, I can give it. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you a little hint. You don't have to print the back, but if you print double-sided, you can print the back. And you also, we made rounded corners, but you have to cut them. So if you don't want to cut them, don't cut them. But you know, I'm just saying, this is little techniques. All right. I see we have a few more minutes. We aim to finish these up pretty quickly by 45 minutes after the hour. So we'll put again the links to BATMo in there. For some reason you haven't been on it. We'll put again the link to the next session if you'd like to sign up, and we hope you will. We'll be talking about the movement compass in one of the sections, and we'll be talking about can't remember what the next one is. The card deck, I think, how to play card games with generally. And thank you, Sarah, for posting the videos that you and Jonathan made. Any other? Oh, here I see somebody would like to help test the number 12 self-care and community resilience module. Yes, we will send it out to you. Let us know. Really excited to get feedback on this and make that accessible as well. Our goal for that one, by the way, is to have it online by June 1st, fully translated in all its glory. At least in 4 languages to start, and then working on other languages. Who else can we, thank you, Sarah, also interested. Great. Anybody else want to chime in with a comment, a thought, a question? Totally open. Shout it out or put it in the chat. Rem, do you have anything else you want to add? You're muted though, if you're talking.
No, just to saying again, thanks for this. Thanks for create this and be supported with many organizations and activists all over the world. I think the time is too short to mention all of them, but it's been very useful to a lot of grassroots organizations as well. I just want to say that sometimes when you create this kind of content, people could, like, in Spanish we say, you smoke it, because it was too complex. But now this is, again, I'm just underlining it because it's a highlight to me to make it very simple, and you could get to grassroots organization and grassroots activists. So again, just say things.
Awesome. Great. Well, feel free to unmute and say hello, goodbye in whatever language you would like to. And we're really happy that you joined us. If you have other comments or questions, we'll stay on the line a few more minutes. And really happy to see everybody, including our littlest participant, having lunch. Hi. So beautiful.
Bye-bye.
Feel free to unmute and say bye.
Hi, all. Thanks.
Adios. Adios.
Adios. Ciao, Bella.
Chao.
Muchas gracias.
Awesome. Dorothy's question is really interesting too. How to use the materials in the occupational health work where activism isn't always appreciated.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, it just came in. It just came in right now, but that's interesting.
And do we have an ongoing community of practice for facilitators? We are trying to figure out how to make that real. Yeah. And okay, how to use these materials in my occupational health work or activism. Yeah, we can just do it from a community health perspective.
Yeah.
We have a lot of information that personal connection, dealing with conflict creatively, self-care, all those things are really good for your health, right? Unmitigated stress leads from social injustice and community problems is something that compounds the need for us to do our work. So I love that. Yeah, great. And another one. Yeah, great. Proofreading. Excellent. Thank you, SM Humphreys. Great. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we'll stop the recording And see you on the beautiful trouble world somewhere, somehow, sometime.